He was mentioning that there are people in California that are being sworn in, complete in military uniform, but they have no military experience.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that. There
Yeah.
was like 6 or 7 on a stage, and they're not like
Yeah.
lieutenant colonels, and they've never been in the military.
Yeah,
Talk about
exactly.
stolen valor.
Yeah. So their expertise, what they bring to the table is AI.
Oh, good for them.
So, yeah, exactly. So I want to show a clip just to kind of put things in a little different spin on it,
Yeah.
but this will help our conversation a bit. So hang tight here. It's only like a minute long. And you may have
Okay.
seen this already. So let me just bring it up here real quick.
The test of selective attention. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count? The correct answer is 15 passes. But did you see the gorilla? This video is from research by Daniel Simons and Christopher Chabris and
Crazy, eh?
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah, and I kind of thought like a lot of people have seen this, but do you remember the first time watching it? Did you see the gorilla? Or do you
I
remember?
don't recall. I don't. I did this time. But I don't recall if I. It's been years. I don't recall if I had seen the gorilla the first time. I was busy counting.
Yeah, I know, that's funny. Um, there's an interesting stat. Let me just pull it up real quick here. Let's see here if I could see it. What did they say? Just trying to see if I can find this test here. So basically, what is it? They did this test on radiologists. Um, they said 83% of radiologists didn't spot a gorilla,
Hmm.
which is kind of interesting because this
They're
kind
supposed
of
to see.
leads. What's that?
They're supposed to see the little things.
Yeah, exactly. And what's interesting is we have our own cognitive biases, inattention biases, all this kind of stuff affecting us every single day that we're not aware that it's actually happening to us. We're not aware of it, that we can actually have a bias towards something, and we when someone approaches a topic, we're like, oh yeah, we're totally open to whatever it is you want to talk about. And then as soon as you mention a word, they tune out and they don't hear it, whatever it is. This happens all the time. So it's very hard to put that down. So when you see something like these guys that are part of this new detachment 201, they have no army ability, but they dress them in fatigues. And I think part of that is if you do that for a little while, we will buy into it a little bit more and we'll say, well, they must have some training, surely, to wear the fatigues to get sworn in. They look like an army. Boom, our guard comes down. With regards to them, what I believe, this is very Black Swanny, is that they're approaching the army from an AI perspective to say, how can we help you be a better soldier out in the real world? What can we do to help you? Well, We can have augmented reality helmets for you to help you find your targets just a little bit better. So if you're out in the street somewhere and there's a riot going on, we're going to help you with our AI detachment to help you find the people that you are to unlife. The good guys, we're going to help you separate the good guys from the bad guys. So if you see a guy light up, he's red, we promise you we are 99.99% correct that that is the bad guy that you are to take out. Don't question us. Don't question us. These are AI experts. They have GPS tracking, all this kind of stuff. So we know who's who. Don't worry about it. The blue guys, let them go. They're okay, or vice versa. Red guys protect, blue guys take them out, whatever it is. You get a number of these young people in the army that are conditioned this way in front of a monitor. What do you see? What is real? What isn't real? And they're like, that's not real. Okay, let's tweak it a little bit. Next week, what's real? I think this one, you got it wrong. So now they can't tell what's real because they've been submersing them into this technology with headsets, headgear, VR. Your weapons are trained for all this stuff. I can see down the road when you roll this stuff out, heaven forbid if some Christian's walking out there and is just going to the store to buy something, soldiers come out. It's like, this guy's painted red. He has to be a bad guy because we're so used to being told this is what we're actually seeing in front of our goggles. So we have to do that. Otherwise, we could be reprimanded. So I got to arrest you, take you out, whatever it is. And meanwhile, they're like, no, 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 I'm just walking out of the church. And maybe that church is not actually a church, but it's actually some kind of mosque or something that has signs of terrorism all over it or whatever it is. And the soldiers are walking up to it going, this guy's a terrorist. And meanwhile, it's just a Christian walking out going, no, 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 like, this is just a Pentecostal church. But in the VR goggles, it's showing a mosque on fire, half blown up with windows blown open, all this kind of stuff. And the soldiers don't know because they got all their hearing and everything in there. This is like right out of Black Mirror. I don't know if you ever watch any of those TV series. You ever seen Black Mirror?
So yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's where it came from. What you're talking about. I saw that episode, and you're right. The aliens actually conditioned the teenage kids to kill humans, and that's what they were doing for the aliens. I guess the aliens didn't have stomach to do it, or what? I don't know. I don't know what the deal was. Why they had to use the kids, but kids were actually running around killing humans and not aliens, and they just tricked their brains into thinking that they were aliens. They actually saw aliens.
Yes. And I think there's something to that because it wouldn't take us very long to win people over, especially if you start from a young age, get them used to watching things and continually quiz them and reward them for the correct answers that you want them to say. Nobody likes to be a loser in a group of like 10, 20 peers. You don't want to be like, oh man, I'm the only guy that's getting this question wrong. So even though I think it's wrong, I'm going to go along with it because I want the rewards at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens. That's go welcome, or sorry, if you go back to junior high, high school, there's so much peer pressure to do things that maybe you didn't want to do. Maybe you didn't want to join basketball because you're a nerd and you'd rather read Poltergeist or something. But then you played it and then you're like, oh yeah, well, I get to hang out with my friends or whatever. But I think when it comes to the media, and I'm going somewhere with all this stuff, we can get things painted in a certain direction. Let's just use Iran, for example. That's all we've grown up with, the idea that Iran is our enemy. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying I know people that came from Iran and they're like, oh man, this was like I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. They're like, oh man, you got to come and visit. I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't want to get blown up. And they're like, no, it's not like that. It's beautiful. There's some beautiful areas and the people are beautiful, all this stuff. And I'm like, I couldn't untwist that in my head because I
Yeah,
thought everybody,
being from Florida, I meet all kinds of foreign people from all nationalities, all walks of life, and Iranian people are just awesome people. Food's great.
yeah,
No, we've been lied to, and I've known that forever. They don't want a nuclear bomb. They never have had one. They've been screaming they'll be ready in 2 weeks for the last 4 years.
yeah,
Even 40 years ago they said they were working on it. How long does it take to enrich uranium?
yeah,
Does it take 40 years? I mean, is it even worth it at that point?
I
You know
know.
what I'm saying? So no, the whole thing's a lie. Everything's a lie. All of it's a lie. The fact that Trump lost his cool and used the F word, talking about turn those planes around, all of that was fake. None of that was real. You
I
know what
know
I'm
it
saying?
feels, we were
It's
talking
all
about
fake.
this the other night that, and this will drive some people binockers, like binockers, is that the right word?
Bonkers. Well,
Bonkers,
bonkers.
that's it. Not
Yeah.
binoculars, bonkers.
Binoculars.
Yeah, I just made up a word. It'll drive people crazy talking like this. I'm telling you, this goes against the grain to go, what if there are some good people in Russia? What if there are some beautiful cities in Russia or Ukraine or Iran or Israel? Everybody's afraid to go to Israel because they're like, same thing. They're going to get bombed and all that. I get it. There's probably not very many flights there. They're not wrong. But
You're not wrong.
we get so fearful after a while that we feel more comfortable to watch TV, see what the news is, because we're starting to trust those sources more to go
In
on with our
reality.
daily world. That's
Yeah.
that's our daily bread, is the news. And
Hmm.
this is a hard pill to swallow, but we've been chewing on this medicine for years that what they say is the truth. And if you question it, whoa, all of a sudden now you could be like, you're a heretic or something like that. Something's wrong, you know?
Hmm.
So I wanted to bring you on and invite a few people to come on because today and tomorrow I'm going to be talking a little bit about Trump and what's going on with Iran, Israel, get some people's thoughts about, and trying to get unbiased while we're wrestling through what's going on in the media and everything. What do you take away? What's your takeaway after watching, like we've basically almost had a week now? What's your take on what's going on around there? What are you looking at with regards to timelines? Are we getting closer with the rapture, you feel? Or are we thinking, like, are we suspending rapture talk for another year? Or what do you think?
Oh no. Now, if you want to hear God laugh like out loud, just say the rapture will be in 2026. The rapture's coming here in 2025. Everything's coming together. We're seeing it happen. I my timeline goes quiet for 30 days until July 17th. But a Billboard for Christ has been working on some numbers, and I sent him some stuff. I think it was yesterday, and a lot of stuff is pointing to July 4th. I don't have that, and that's the one holiday I kept asking why. Why is the one holiday that I see July 4th not showing up on my timeline? It
Yeah.
doesn't show up. It's literally right in between everything.
Yeah.
I'm in a month quiet period until July 17th.
So could this
So
be the gorilla that's going in
I,
between the ball passing?
yeah, I like that analogy. Yeah, that very well could be. That very well could be the gorilla in the center that nobody sees. But no, the rapture's coming. The rapture's coming. It's coming very soon. And like I said before, it's not they're not going to achieve peace and safety. They're going to say it.
Mhm.
And that's what we're looking at. And I think when they meet together, when are they meeting? Aren't they meeting here very soon?
I'm not sure.
I thought I heard that they were going to meet here next week or something,
I
and they're
know
going to come
Trump
out.
flew somewhere,
Yeah, yeah.
like a
The Abraham
UN.
Accords is working on. He's going to
Yeah,
come
they're
out because he can't
tweaking
be
it.
quiet. That guy, Trump. Trump is a businessman, but he's trailer park. I mean, that guy just does not know how to.
I
He
know.
just does not know how to shut up. But he's going to
There's
tweet something like, "We just made peace. The world's at peace. These guys have been fighting for 1,000 years, and now they're at peace." And that's it. That rapture's going to happen because that's going to set everybody off. Nope. I mean, it's genetic. Was it Ishmael and Isaac? Is that right? Is it Ishmael and Isaac, the brothers, half
no.
brothers?
Yes, you're right. Yes, Ishmael was 14. Isaac was just born when
Yeah.
Ishmael. Yeah,
So
so
you got
Abraham
these
was
two
100.
brothers. They're always going to war because they came
Yeah,
from different mothers. So,
yeah,
but the
yeah,
promise was given to Isaac. So there you go.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. One, if you like numbers and stuff, which I think you do, here's an interesting thing. And maybe this is so obvious to people that they're like, Shane, that is level 1. We come to your show for level 10 stuff. We
For
don't
real
want
though.
the basic milk and
It's
cookies.
it's
So
gonna be that gorilla moment. It was right there. It was right in front of
it's
you.
right there.
How did you miss it?
Yeah. So maybe the audience will say, Shane, this is so obvious. Okay. So
Right.
I'm reading the book of Revelation. Okay. I'm going through it.
What a
All of a
blessing.
sudden, yeah, 100%. All of a sudden, and I'm also going through trying to get through the entire Bible in 30 days. And I thought I was a little bit behind because I was trying to get done by Saturday. And then I realized, wait a minute, I still have a couple of extra days. Monday is June 30th. So I'm good now. I was like feeling a little behind because it took me a couple of days to get through Jeremiah. Jeremiah is heavy, especially after Isaiah. So, working on it. And then I come across some stuff about Israel and coming back. And then I started thinking about 1948. And I'm like, there's something going on here with the idea of why there is a bit of a movement. And I was caught a little bit in this as well, going, Israel, you're kind of ticking people off a little bit too much. So I kind of went down that side a little bit, like these people aren't the real Israel and all this stuff,
Mhm.
right? But when you read Jeremiah, you read Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, and Ezekiel back to back, something starts popping. What God said to, I believe it was Jeremiah, sometimes all the prophets sound the same after a while. He says, Ephraim does not know who he is. That's key. If you're looking at the Old Testament and trying to figure out what's going on today with Israel, Ephraim doesn't know who he is. Ephraim is another play on the name Israel. We know that.
Mhm.
That's kind of basic stuff. But what we forget is it's like Ephraim has amnesia when it comes to God and all his promises and anything related to the new covenant. Blinders go on. You talk about Jesus Christ, you talk about the New Testament, you talk about Paul to a Jew in Israel, the Israelis, they're like, I don't know what you're talking
Gorilla.
about. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, So
Yeah.
there is a blindness going on, but God said, I know who Ephraim is. Even
Mhm.
though he was scattered all over the world, he doesn't know who he is, probably doesn't know his DNA or anything like that. He just lost it, right? 2,000 years, that happens. But God said, I know, I remember. And I'm going to start drawing people back to Israel. And
Mhm.
I'm like, boy, okay, this starts lining up with 1948 now. And like them or not, there is a draw that's happening to get them to Israel. And there's also, and this is portrayed in Jeremiah as bait by the Lord. He's using bait to get Israel back, but he's also baiting the nations. What's he doing? Well, they
Making a
are
bait bite.
causing nations they can't stand Israel right now.
Mhm. They
Like
never
there's
really could. But yeah.
yeah, and that's been the history. Like they are being punted from country to country to country. And people are just like, I don't like them. I don't want them here, whatever it is, until finally they come back into their own land. but I believe that's God drawing them to that land, and he's setting up the nations of the world so that anyone, and Ted Cruz had a debate with Tucker Carlson, they're going at it and stuff, and Ted Cruz was wrong on one of the verses that he used about if you curse Israel, you're going to be cursed. He was using the verse for Abraham, but Ted Cruz wasn't wrong, because God says that if you come after Israel, whatever means you come at them, words, he's going to come after you. So Ted was quoting the wrong kind of a scripture verse, but that's okay. He doesn't read the whole Bible. I do. I know what he meant. And there is something there that if you focus all your attention and you're like, I hate Israel, I can't stand those people, they're so arrogant, what I wish they would just be extinct. Well, your country as a whole, if you say that for a long enough period of time, I believe you're part of the bait that is drawing all these nations around Israel one day. And you're going to realize, oh man, I'm coming against God.
Yeah.
And he's fighting for Israel. It's a
That
setup.
is the problem. It is a setup. In 1948 BC, Abraham was born. Israel was born in 1948 AD. The problem is, if you say these aren't the right people, which is the dumbest thing to say, you are saying that the rapture is not about to happen. You're saying that we still have to wait until this fabled correct DNA Israel people show up there. We have to wait 7 years after that point. And then all the math is wrong. We're not, I mean, we are in a Jubilee year, but we'd have to wait another 70 years, which how long do you think mathematically it would take to fall back into a Jubilee? No, these are the Jewish people.
Yes.
They might be a Judah. They might be Judah. We don't know which one of the 12 tribes they are.
They don't know.
They
don't know which one.
I took a DNA test. I'm part Jewish.
Sure,
you know what I'm
we
saying?
all are.
I think I'm 12% or something like that, or 2%. I don't remember.
That's part there. You just proved it because you don't remember.
Right.
He got it in you.
It's but it doesn't. And I don't know what percentage you have to be for God's eyes to say, "Oh no, you're Jewish because you're this much percentage." There's some equation that they use, but no, the people that are there are the ones that God instilled there in 1948, and that's where we count from, and that's the end of it. It's not. They are not the right ones. Yeah, that's the stuff that sneaks in from behind, and it gets you to going into a dark place. To making the statement, well, they're actually running America, and they're the ones that are causing. Maybe they are. Look, you're talking about a group of people who are going to willingly accept the Antichrist as their savior.
Yeah,
they can't be good people. You're pointing out the obvious. They are sinners, but then look in the mirror, because so are you. So you don't get to sit there and judge the Jewish people because they're sinners, because they're the ones. Not only are they going to accept the Antichrist, the Bible told us they were. So as we sit here and judge their action, oh, they're trying to create war. Yeah, it's written in the Bible. Did you miss that part? It's
exactly.
Why are you calling out the obvious? You know, it's written right. Are you mad at them because they're doing exactly what the Bible said they would do?
And that's the part that I couldn't wrestle for a while, because I'm like, I'm so against war, but I'm like, yet it seems like Israel's stirring it up and that. And then I'm like,
they are.
Hold on one second. Yeah, because when you think about it, Israel, this is Israel's DNA. If we're talking about DNA, here's what they're known for. Okay. This is all through the Old Testament. If you want to know what makes them up, what their substance is, they want to see a sign. That's their substance. They always want to see something, or they can't be told what to do. They can't. That's Moses argued about it. Jeremiah was talking to God about it. Ezekiel, God is constantly saying they're stiff-necked. You don't get a stiff-necked reputation unless you're someone that always turns away from whatever God wants you to do.
From the very beginning that they would be the hardest folk.
Yeah, so that's their DNA. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't change that part. And God uses that again, to bait the nations. And what's interesting about, I've read Jeremiah now, I'm on my 21st. I just finished my 21st time reading it in 3.5 years. I'm starting to get little slivers of knowledge in the book of Jeremiah, just a hint of it. And what popped out to me that I never saw was nations are going to hate the word Zion. They're going to hate it. And I'm like, what? That's today. They call them Zionists. And they're like, they're evil and all. And God goes goes even further in detail and says they're going to think that they're doing God a favor by saying these people have sinned towards God, so they don't deserve the inheritance. And that's what we do in North America. We go, they were wicked. Look at the Old Testament. They're evil. Look at today. They've caused all the wars. They're doing this, and they never listened to you, God. Smite them, smoke them.
Hence the sliver and the 2x4. That's it right there.
But what they miss, and that's good. That's a good verse. What they miss is where Moses says at the end of Deuteronomy, he says, God is speaking to Moses saying, if it wasn't for the fact that I fear, and people get mad when I read the Bible, that nations are going to go erratic and get ecstatic at the idea that they single-handedly made Israel extinct from the world. God said, I looked ahead and I went, no, that's not going to happen, because they will get off. They will get so excited that Israel's not on the map. I will never let that happen. In fact, I'm going to make a couple of promises. If you can count all the stars, if you can measure the depth of the universe, I will forsake Israel. Not good enough for you? If you can figure out the depths of the earth, I'm going to forsake Israel. Oh, not good enough? How about if the sun and the moon never work anymore? I'm going to forget Israel. This is all Jeremiah stuff. This is not me making this stuff up. And this is also in Deuteronomy. So God is saying, no matter what happens, I will always leave a light for Israel. They're always going to be here. You can't destroy it. So part of me is like, why are they afraid? Why is Israel afraid of being annihilated when God's protect them?
It's the most amazing point. Sorry, it's the most amazing point of all this is your salvation teeters on accepting Jesus Christ. It's that simple. It's that simple. You know what I'm saying? And it's also that simple for the Jewish people. It's that simple. You know, but they're the last ones to come in. They're the last ones that'll finally kneel down, bow, and cry. It's if God would have chosen, by the way, I checked, I'm 1% European Jewish. I have no idea what that means. I'm 100% European though. Don't know what that means either. But anyway, he chose, if he would have decided, let me choose any other race.
Yes.
Africa, America, Russian. Yep. We would have caved. Only the Jewish people were stiff-necked enough
to make them it through. To be stiff-necked.
He needed them to make it through. We all say, only they would have crucified him. We would have been, maybe he's
maybe you got a point there. You are our king.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, 100%.
Pontius Pilate didn't want to do it. I mean, everybody would have caved, but it had to be done. So who did he choose?
Yeah.
Why are we questioning who God chose?
Yes,
I don't know. I have a hard time with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think we've probably all wrestled through this stuff to try and figure it out.
I have too, years ago, but yeah.
But again, if God is using them, and the only way that they're going to bow is if, again, part of their DNA, I'm building a case saying this is who they've been for 2,000 years. They don't surrender until you put them in a corner. Hey, how you doing?
What are we doing wearing sunglasses, man? What's going on here?
Shades.
His wife punched him in the eye.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Are you upset that Toronto's out or something? Did you get punched out or something like that?
Florida beat us, buddy. Florida beat us.
Yeah. So we're talking about, and this is good that you're here as well. We're talking about I was building up a case of why we can't stand Israel so much if you don't read the Bible, why people are coming against them. And it's all over. It's baked into the Old Testament, into their DNA, if you will, to be stiff-necked. And they don't move until you surround them with other nations and take everything away from them. Then they turn to God. That's been their pattern. So the end times is going to be the same pattern where they get surrounded and all of a sudden they cry out to Yahweh going, save us, or we're going to be extinct. We're going to be wiped out. So I can't say today, Israel, why don't you be like this or like that? If it was China, if it was Russia, if it was Canada, we would have caved a long time ago. We would have caved. Like, so we have to appreciate the history of Israel, that they, according to the Bible, Ephraim forgot who he is, doesn't know. They got blinders on right now, and they're just full steam ahead. We're never going to be occupied. We're never going to be taken over and all this stuff. It ticks off a lot of people, but God's using that as bait to get all the nations to surround the ones that came against Israel. They're going to be destroyed. I don't know how else to see it in the Bible.
Yeah, did you already talk about Zechariah 12?
No, sir.
Yeah, so I can open up my Bible to that.
Okay. Bring the heat, man. I got my shades on.
The heat is on. The heat is
that
on.
ice hockey? Is that ice hockey?
This helmet, it's a
No,
hockey.
the game, the Florida game that you lost to Florida.
Oh yeah. So Florida Panthers played the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but Toronto lost in the second round or something to Florida.
This is Florida. We don't have ice. Isn't this a bit like the Jamaican bobsled team? How did you lose? I'm confused.
You know what? I think half of Florida Panthers are Canadian players.
There you go. That's how we get out of this. They're all Canadian. That's how we get out of this.
Yeah. A bunch of them are. I don't even know. Anyway, okay. Back to the Bible. Zechariah 12. I'll read it, a portion of it. Chapter 12. The burden of the word of the Lord against Israel. Thus says the Lord, who stretches out the heavens, lays the foundation of the earth, and forms the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of drunkenness to all surrounding peoples. There you go. That's what Shane's talking about. And when they lay siege against Judah and Jerusalem, and it shall happen in that day that I will make Jerusalem a very heavy stone for all peoples, or in other words, all nations. All who would heave it away will surely be cut in pieces, though all nations of the earth are gathered against it. In that day, says the Lord, I will strike every horse with confusion, and its rider with madness. I will open my eyes on the house of Judah, and I will strike every horse of the peoples with blindness. And the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem are my strength, and the Lord of hosts their God. In that day I will make the government of Judah like a fire pan in the woodpile, like a fiery torch in the sheaves. They shall devour all the surrounding peoples on the right hand and on the left, but Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place. Jerusalem.
Boom. I feel like breakdancing right now. That's
I mean,
I'm gonna do the robot just for
keeps on going. I'll read 3 more verses and then we're done with this little area. Okay. The Lord will save the tents of Judah first, so that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall not become greater than that of Judah. In that day the Lord will defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. The one who is feeble among them in that day shall be like David, and the house of David shall be like God, like the angel of the Lord before them. It shall be in that day that I will seek to destroy all nations that come against Jerusalem.
Bam. Right there. And get a picture of this. Here's a little mental image. Grabbing a guy by the hair, pulling his head back, taking a pitcher of beer or wine and pouring it down their throat and saying, chug, chug, chug. That's what God is doing to all the nations. He's forcing them to drink the wine. And this is all tied into wrath and all tied into the grapes being pressed down, all this imagery of being forced to drink a cup of confusion, all kinds of stuff. Nations are going to be like, I don't know why we can't stand Israel, but I can't stand them, and I'm gonna go fight them. Like they're drunk. It's like they're just like, and he
Yeah.
gives them over to that because they get into such an emotional frenzy that they just want to attack Israel, and they want to erase Israel. But God promised that they will not be erased, and you're coming against Him.
Yeah. Now here's the flip side to all this, though. The 2/3 of Israel will die. That's the thing, right? So
Right. Yep.
they're not. Jerusalem and Israel is not invincible for this entire time.
100%. They're not.
So at the end, Jesus will reign over in Jerusalem, and He's going to restore everything. But there's going to be a lot of death, blood, famine.
Yeah. I think if
you
you
name it.
if you approach it from a record pretending that Toronto is like 80-0, it's not going to happen. They're not going to ever be 80-0. Neither will the Calgary Flames, right? Never. But Israel, if you ever seen in Zechariah or again back to Jeremiah, there is a plumb line. And I think if you can understand the plumb line idea, this will help. So the plumb line is basically, it's not like when we measure a nice little line, and then we're constructing a building or whatever, and you got to put a little plumb line, that little chalk, the blue chalk, you pop it and then everything's level, whatever, right? Plumb line here in Zechariah is, this line is here. I'm drawing a line basically in the sand. Below that line, these people live. Above that, it's game over. So I will never let Israel diminish to a point where they're on the verge of extinction, like just one little mistake and they're gone. So there is a number that God has that they won't get below that line, no matter what you do. And we see this echoed with Elijah saying, "Oh, I'm all by myself." And God's like, "No, there's 7,000 I have saved for myself that haven't taken a knee to Baal." We've seen that. We see it all over that Revelation, 144,000. They're not going to get wiped. They're not going to get extinct. Like Israel's not just going to get erased down to 10 people. It's going to be close. It's like, no, it's going to look really bad. But you're right. 2/3. What number is that? We don't know what 2/3 is. But it's more than the population. Like Canada. I don't know how many we have. What do we have? 50
So where's
million?
that at? That it says that 2/3 of Israel will die.
Zechariah 13 or 14 or something.
Yeah. So it says here in Zechariah 13, verse 8, and it shall come to pass in the land, says the Lord, that 2/3 in it shall be cut off and die, but 1/3 shall be left in it. And I will bring the 1/3 through the fire, will refine them as silver is refined, and test them as gold is tested. They will call in my name, and I will answer them. I will say, this is my people, and each one will say, the Lord is my God.
That's good.
So I have a lot of what we do when we're looking at events in the Bible. I think we make huge mistakes. One mistake is to assign everything to the pre-tribulational rapture bride. The other mistake is mid-trib with the great multitude. The next one is at the end of the 7 years. But we're forgetting there's another event that happens at the end of the 1,000 years as well. So when we see verses like this, we might need to categorize it in one of those events, and it can't all be just before we go or just after we go. You know what I'm saying? It could be at the end of the 7 years, could be the end of the 1,000 years.
Yeah,
So
it has shades. You're right. It has shades of Jacob's trouble. That final week.
I don't see that in Revelation where 2/3 die, but it's written right there in Zechariah.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Yeah.
But my question now is, where do I assign it? To what dispensation do I assign it? I can't assign everything to.
Well, here, if you look at what 2/3 means, people are getting killed and annihilated. If you look at the war after the 1,000 years, 0 people are getting annihilated. Why? Because Gog and Magog is coming and approaching, and a fire comes down from heaven, and there's no battle.
Consumes them.
It's not like Armageddon where people are just getting killed and people are just being piled up both sides. Both camps are going at
quite
it.
possibly this is at the end of the 7 years, though.
That's what I feel like. Somewhere in there that it's going to be Israel's on its last stand kind of thing, and all of a sudden all the nations are surrounding it, and then they see Christ coming with all his hosts and everything intervening before, because if he didn't, there'd be nothing left. That's not like after Revelation 1. There's no hint. If I don't do this, nothing's left. It's more like I'm going to show the nations how powerful I am now by raining fire, and boom, there's no war. It's just done because they're all at peace. They're building and they're doing stuff, and they're like looking over their shoulder and they're like, is that an army coming? We don't have weapons. Oh, right. We got God. That's right. Israel's not at that stage right now. They have weapons. They are looking over their shoulder going, is this the day that we're going to get nuked or bombed or anything? Like, they're paranoid. Because there's people after them today. Not so during the millennium kingdom. I think you feel the safest under Christ's reign for 1,000 years. I think you could sit back in a hammock, relax. You want that build again? We want to build this? Okay, let's do it. Whatever. Like, I think it's a different atmosphere inside Christ's reign. I'm not talking about the outer parts of the earth where people are like, man, if I had a leader after this 1,000-year millennium kingdom, I'm going to follow that leader because I don't like the way Christ is running things. Well, there's the devil shows up, right?
Wow, yeah. And then that'll start working its way in right up to the point where I don't know, do we leave? He rules and reigns for 1,000 years. Do we all just take off and leave the planet to itself for the last 22 years? I don't know.
Yeah, and who says you have to leave? Maybe you're just in another dimension that they can't see after the 1,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
Gets a little blurry. Could be my glasses. Gets a little blurry after the 1,000-year millennium reign.
Yeah. I was just saying, you know, when we read verses like this, we have to be careful not to assign everything to the period of grace. You know, I have a feeling that most of this is actually assigned to the 7 years. You know, I don't think there's anything left for us to see, honestly.
Right.
Well, you know, it's my perspective that the 1/3 is the one that's brought into the wilderness in the last half of the 7-year tribulation.
That makes sense too.
Because the woman is brought to the wilderness for 1,260 days in Revelation 12, verse 6. It says that. And so that's the remnant that's preserved, you know. So now when did the 2/3 die? Well, we can speculate a little bit on that. We can say, well, maybe the ones that don't go, you know, it says in Matthew 24, it says, when you see the abomination of desolation, you know, head out to the wilderness. Well, maybe there's going to be, maybe at that point, those 2/3 are not going to go, and the 1/3 will go, and maybe that's when they fall right at the midpoint, or maybe they slowly die.
Well, I think
I don't know.
I think we do have snapshots of that in Jeremiah, where basically Jeremiah is telling Israel, saying whoever's left, basically Judah. We're talking about Judah now because Israel, the 10 northern tribes are gone. Jeremiah is saying, okay, here's the deal. You have to go to Babylon and live there and marry and all kinds of stuff, like make families, work, all this stuff for 70 years, and then you'll come back. Judah thought, the king of Judah and everyone around, the ones that were the easiest way to explain this would be the people that didn't, they were Jews, but they didn't agree with what Jeremiah was saying because they thought, we have the temple, we have everything here. This is the safest place for us to be, is right here in Israel. And in fact, if we're in an emergency, we also have Egypt in our back pocket to help us out. And Jeremiah is saying, if you go to Egypt, the exact same way God was using all these people to come into Israel and take them out and all this stuff, I'm going to go to Egypt and take you out there. I don't want you to go to Egypt. I want you to go to Babylon. So eventually Jeremiah got captured and taken to Egypt. But the point is, the people that were left, unless they were poor, the majority of the people got killed because they resisted Nebuchadnezzar. They resisted him, and they're like, come to Babylon for 70 years, then you can go back. Those that resisted and fled either got tortured by Moab or Ammon or Edom because they were skipping for joy. Oh, look, Nebuchadnezzar's coming to Israel. Well, let's grab these guys and let's take them to Babylon, and maybe we could sell a Jew for a prostitute or a pair of shoes and then go back and we're going to take over their homes. And God's like, no, you guys broke the brotherly covenant. I'm coming after you as well for how you treated Israel. And like, it's baked all over. So back to the Israel going into the wilderness, I think whoever stays in Jerusalem is going to get killed. It's not a safe place for them.
Right. Yeah, maybe the midpoint is when all the fire starts, But I just wanted to address a question or a comment. Somebody said, Aaron, don't give you any hope. He says the rapture is next year. So I guess you haven't been paying attention to my videos. So I've been talking about 3 dates. I said that a couple times. So I'm looking at 3 dates this summer before I hop over to next year. Okay. So the 3 summer dates is July 6th. Why? Because what if the calendar is actually 30 days off? So I'm looking at July 6th. Maybe Shavuot is actually there. That's one option. Option number 2 and 3 have the same theme, but because the calendar, head scratching thing, I've got 2 potential dates on that. And the theme for the second theme is a 40-day male child Shavuot theme. So just like Jesus, he rose on first fruits and then he left 40 days later. So he rose actually on the feast of first fruits and was presented to the Father, but then he physically left 40 days later. So you take that same pattern and you glue that to Pentecost, Shavuot, and that gets you to 2 dates this summer. July 18th, if the calendar was correct, and August 15th, if the calendar is 15 days off. So those are my 3 days that I'm looking at. I'll just say them one more time here. July 6th, maybe. July 18th, maybe. August 15th, maybe. Once we pass that August, then my heart's going to Feast 2 Weeks 2026, but I'm still going to actively watch and study with you guys and just talk about everything, as we go. So that's my summary on what I'm looking at. So,
cool. Yeah. Go check out Aaron's video too at Aaron God a Minute if you want the full breakdown of it.
Yeah. I did a video a couple days ago on that. So, but
here's what's interesting. I was gonna talk about this with Mike. I know you guys both like numbers. As I was going through Jeremiah, I popped into Revelation for a little bit, and I came across a tiny, teeny little verse, Revelation 13, verse 7. Do you know what that's about? Off the top of your head, take a little guess.
That's when the heads come out of the water, and then the Antichrist, they're giving the power over to the beast. That's that area, right?
Very close. It's the head wound verse.
The head wound. Oh, I got a lot to say on this, brother. Okay.
Yeah. So last year, so you have Revelation 13:7.
Yes.
You have July 13th, which is the 7th month. 1 minute after the Sabbath was over in America, somebody got shot in the head.
Okay, I got a lot to say about this, brother.
I'm not saying this guy's the Antichrist, but I'm just saying if you like numbers and you like playing around with stuff, last year was kind of interesting. That's all I have to say for now.
Okay, how many minutes are you going to give me on this topic?
You got all night, brother. My wife's out at a book club.
Oh, okay. So if I say what I'm going to say, people are going to get a little bit upset with me, and I almost need a long time to explain this.
How much time do you need?
I don't know.
Can
be
interactive a little bit on it, or
okay,
you think
let me try my best to condense it short, but we got to condense this short. But if I just say one thing, you're gonna be like, "What are you talking about?"
I don't mind that though sometimes to kind of bait people and then go, "Oh man, get us going," and then explain it. But whatever you want.
Let me try and be respectful of your time, but also know that this is going to be a bit of a long process to talk through this. And it's funny enough because I was going to do a live stream on this theme because it not really that what you said, but it's okay. Let me get into it. Okay. Well, who are the mountains? What are the mountains in Revelation 17? That's a very important question because that's going to answer what you just brought up. Okay. So the mountains in Revelation 17 are kingdoms.
Makes
They're
sense.
not physical mountains. Do we agree on that so far before we carry on? Because now we got to
Yeah,
build and build and build and build.
strongholds, all that. Yeah, for sure.
So some people think they're physical mountains in Revelation 17, but they're not. They're actually representing of kingdoms. So it says here in Revelation 17:7, but the angel said to me, why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The beast that you saw it was and is not, and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. And those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast that was and is not and yet is. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. Okay. On which the woman sits. Now in Daniel, mountains are kingdoms. If you go to Daniel chapter 2, it talks about that. Okay. So we know
Big mountain. Yeah.
that these mountains are
I'm gonna be on the chat, but I got to run inside for a minute. But I'll be listening to you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry,
Cool.
I'll be right back.
Yep.
I'm leaving this running.
Yep.
Okay.
You got it, Mike. So we know that these 7 mountains are 7 heads, but they represent kingdoms. Okay. So these mountains are not physical mountains. They're not 7 continents. They're not physical mountains under Rome. They're actually kingdoms. Okay. 5 have already fallen, it says in the scripture.
Yep.
One is yet to come. Well, when John was writing this, 5 kingdoms have already fallen. Egypt, Assyria. I have this chart right here. Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece. 5 have fallen. One is, because Rome was when John was writing this, and one is yet to come. Now, the last kingdom is argumented. We can argue a couple different options for the 7th kingdom,
Yep.
but ignore that. We know for sure Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, for sure, were the big 6 kingdoms of the history of time. Okay, good so far?
So far, except I think you missed the 8th.
That's yet to come.
Okay. Yeah, which is really the 6th,
The 6th,
which is interesting.
yes, that's cool too. Yeah, so some people might think of it that as the Roman revived empire, whatever. But for sure, we know that the first 6 are Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. That's a guarantee. That's history. The 7th is speculative, and the 8th is just that little mini kingdom of the Antichrist. Really. Okay, so these heads represent kingdoms. It's not an actual person. Okay,
Right.
Good so far on the foundation.
So far, so good.
So now when we go back to Revelation 13 and we know that the heads represent kingdoms and not a person.
Right.
All right. Then we read.
But Trump getting shot in the head is a little bit more sexy, though, isn't it? To talk
It's
about.
fun.
Not
It's
that
fun.
that's sexy. That sounds weird to say that, but you know what I mean. It gets everybody riled up, and they're all like, "No, he didn't get hit with the mortal wound. Mortal means it," and then you go off on a tangent. But no, I appreciate where you're going with this.
Yeah. So
You
we're
can
not
bring me down.
Essentially, what we're doing is we're not looking for a guy to get assassinated,
Right?
and get a head wound. What we're looking for is,
Even though it's kind of cool to talk about.
it's fun to talk about.
It's fun to talk.
And it was it was a thing that happened, and it triggered a lot of thought. But I'm just going to read Revelation 13. Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast. Okay, this beast is what we're talking about in Revelation 17, rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads, which represents the 7 kingdoms of history, and 10 horns. These 10 horns are the 10 kings that will come in this 8th kingdom. And on his horns 10 crowns, and on his head a blasphemous name. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard, his feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth was like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and his great authority. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world marveled and followed the beast. Now, so this is talking about Revelation 17. One is yet he's going to come back. That's the king. What's happening here is there's a kingdom transfer. So this head wound is a kingdom transfer. Whatever kingdom you want to put in as that 7th kingdom, if you want to say it's the U.S. Empire, if you want to say it's the Ottoman Empire, if you want to say it's the revived Roman Empire, if you want to say it's something else, it's the current system right now. It is more or less what's going on. That the current system, whatever you want to call it, I would say is number 7. That this kingdom as it is right now gets destroyed, and then the 8th kingdom comes in. So we're not looking for an assassination. We're
Right.
looking for a kingdom transfer.
So we'll pretend we're like world builders right now. So the world that we're building is the beast is not necessarily a person.
That's right. Well, in this context right now, the head wound is not an actual individual. Okay.
And the beast that everybody talks about is not necessarily a person, but perhaps a system. Is that where we're going kind of thing, or no?
Well, the beast has 7 heads, right?
Right.
The beast has, so one of the beast's heads, so one of its kingdoms
Right.
gets destroyed, but then the beast comes back to life, right?
Okay. I'm with you still. I'm with
So
you.
one of the kingdom drops, but then this 8th kingdom comes. And there you go. And now we got the Antichrist system, the 8th kingdom, and it all flows very nicely. So right now, for example, everybody trades against the US dollar, right? It's kind of like, but it's kind of, you can see the foreshadow of its destruction.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the bricks and everything like that. So let's just call it the US right now, the US empire.
Yeah.
You can say that the current system kind of under the US power is going to fall, and then we're going to have this new Antichrist system in place.
Right.
With this mark of the beast and this digital identity, no cash, and you got to worship the beast.
Right.
So our normal commerce drops, it's destroyed, and then bam, we got this little tiny season of 7 years, and Antichrist rules that, and there you go. Does that make sense?
I think so, mostly. Like I get what you're laying down. The one thing that is a little bit confusing about America is some days, depending on the time of day, it feels like America has shades of Babylon.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like very, and then I'm like, okay, well, what kingdom then is that? Is that the 7th?
Okay.
Is
Good.
that
Okay, so great
you know what
question
I mean?
there. So there's a spirit of harlotry. All right. So this is a very delicate thing too. Okay. So there's a spirit of harlotry that has fornicated with all these kingdoms. Okay. So the spirit has been around during the time of Egypt. It's been around during the time of Assyria, the time of Babylon, the time of Medo-Persia, the time of Greece and Rome, etc. What nation has been around to play the harlot with Egypt, with Assyria, with Babylon? Do
It was
you know?
like Israel, right?
Yeah.
Which is
And
interesting.
specifically Jerusalem. The Bible says Jerusalem played the harlot with Egypt in
Yeah.
Ezekiel 16, verse 26.
Yeah.
And then it also says that Jerusalem played the harlot with Assyria in Ezekiel
Yeah.
16, 28. And then the Bible says that Jerusalem played the harlot with Babylon in Ezekiel 16, 29.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
I think it's important too to mention, because when we say harlot, people are like, oh, prostitution or whatever. They never did that or whatever. But you got to understand, if you dive a little bit deeper into harlot, that's basically Israel allowing these nations to dictate whatever it wants.
yeah,
And basically almost like they were the opposite of a prostitute, if you want to think of it that way. A prostitute will do something like, I need to eat or feed, or I need to eat or get clothing or whatever it is, so I will go sleep with a man. What Israel was doing was, I will pay you to sleep with me. And it was contrary. It was contrary to even what, like it or not, that was a wicked way to make an income. That was horrible. But God said, you don't even do that. You're not even trying to save yourself. You're basically offering gifts, lusting after these Assyrians that are coming in, going, man, I wish they could just rule us. And God's like, be careful what you wish for, because these guys will rip you apart. They will ransack your whole area, everything, women, children, whatever. They won't have any mercy. And Israel was treating this stuff so light. They're like, yeah, we can have images in our temple of all these Assyrian leaders and all this, and we're going to look lustfully onto all them and all this kind of stuff. And we want their gold because they're so rich. And look at this. That's a definition of harlot, where they were okay with mixing with all these other nations around them, and they're doing it contrary to how normal transactions are. You give me this, I'll give you that. And they're like, no, I will pay you to give me something. Like, it's not the way it works. So that's a little snapshot of when we're talking about a harlot, the spirit of harlot being around, and Israel's part of that. They had no problem making deals with all these kings to save themselves and all kinds of stuff. Bring your idols in. That's okay. Let's light up all the buildings with candles to the Queen of Heaven. They had no problem. And I think that's the problem, where the prophets are saying, you guys don't even try and hide this stuff. You're doing it out in the open. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
You're doing great. And Hosea chapter 1 verse 2, it says, "Go take yourself a wife of harlotry and children of harlotry, for the land has committed great harlotry by departing from the Lord." So he went and took Gomer. So God is telling Hosea, who was writing primarily around when the northern kingdom was fallen, or right around 750 BC. He's saying, I want you to go marry a harlot, basically because I want you to experience what I'm experiencing with Jerusalem.
Yes.
Okay. And so what we're dealing with is this, but the thing is, people have a hard time separating their love for Israel and Jerusalem, and they have such a hard time, like, oh no, it can't be Jerusalem. Another thing too is they say, well, it's going to be thrown into the city, into the water, because of Revelation 18. But you got to remember, this is all spiritual. We're talking about spiritual things here.
Lots
We're
of
talking about the
symbols, lots of
spirit of,
types.
we're talking about the spirit of harlotry that is in Jerusalem, right? And so in Revelation 11, it talks about Jerusalem, and it calls it, it gives it another name. It's called Sodom and Egypt, or in other words, Sodoma. Sodoma is like a feminine word. So think of the adulterous spiritual name of Jerusalem as Sodoma. So it's the spirit of Sodoma within Jerusalem that gets permanently destroyed through this whole tribulation, and by the time Jesus comes back, the spirit of Sodoma that lives in Jerusalem, that's helped Jerusalem commit adultery through the history of humanity, is the one that's destroyed.
Yes.
Again, it's Sodoma in Jerusalem.
That makes the most sense.
Destroyed.
Yep.
And so now Jesus still loves Jerusalem, and there are still many people that love the Lord and have always loved the Lord in Jerusalem. There's been people that have truly loved and followed the Lord in Jerusalem, and there's people that have truly committed adultery on the Lord in Jerusalem. And he's getting rid of that Sodoma spirit that still dwells in Jerusalem to this day.
100%.
And so we've got this theme of when Joshua says, choose this day whom you shall serve. Are you going to stay in the spirit of Sodoma, or are you going to stand in the true spirit of Jerusalem, which truly follows Yeshua, the Son of God? And that is the theme of what's going on here. There's no other biblical explanation, because the Vatican didn't play the harlot with Egypt, Assyria, and Babylon, etc. They didn't exist back then.
Exactly.
Shinar didn't play the harlot with Egypt. Some people think old Shinar is going to be revived. No, Shinar didn't play the harlot with all these other kingdoms. USA didn't exist until a couple hundred years ago. USA didn't play the harlot with Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo Persia, Greece, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Only Jerusalem is the only option.
And it gives you an example to make it a little bit more specific too, that where the Lord was crucified, where the Lord was killed. So that kind of narrows it down too.
Yeah,
I believe it's in there.
I mean, so it really, and actually, it's in Revelation 11, verse 8, and the way that it's said too, because this really puts it all together. It says this, and they're talking about the two witnesses, and their dead bodies will lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
Yep.
So we got the spiritual name of Sodom, which is sexual sin, it's adultery. But then you've got this other side of Jerusalem, the good spirit of Jerusalem. I don't know what to call that, but just the true believers of Yeshua, the good spirit and the bad spirit.
Remnant.
The remnant, yeah. The real real Israel, faithful Israel. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
just two different spirits going on here.
Yes.
And it's the spirit of Sodom. Or it's almost like this Jezebel spirit. That's another way to look at it. It's this Jezebel spirit
Yeah.
that is going to be destroyed. And again, when you look and when you read Revelation 18, like everything is symbolic in Revelation 17 through 18. We're not looking at an actual woman sitting on 7 mountains. It's not
Right.
what's going on here. There's a
Right.
symbol of something else. So I think I've
100%.
explained myself okay on
Yeah.
that.
No, it makes total sense. Like I think if you go into the Old Testament and you just do it surface level, you're going to miss a lot of stuff. Like for example, something simple like Aaron tossing in all their gold to make a golden calf, and he says to the people, "Here is your." It's like he's the guy from The Price of Right. Come on down. He's basically saying, "This is your Yahweh that brought you out of Egypt. Yahweh. This is Yahweh, guys. He's not up there in the mountain. Yahweh is here." So if somebody today says, "I believe in God," that means zero to me. Sorry. You got to attach Jesus Christ in there. You got to say, you know what? Thank God, the Father that sent his son Jesus Christ to die for my sins. Because if you say God bless America, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know. I could say it, but I know who I'm talking about. Someone else can say it. A Buddhist can say, I believe in God, but you have to be careful because Aaron said Yahweh. YHWH. That's supposed to be attached only to the God of the universe. And Aaron attached that name to say, this golden calf brought you out of Egypt. Worship it. That's why God was so mad up there. He's like, Moses, while we're carving these out, these people are going crazy down there. And Joshua thought it was a big rock concert. And Moses like, no, this isn't war. Moses like, this isn't war. This is almost like there was like an orgy thing kind of going on. Like it's a different type of groaning. It's not groaning from being defeated, and it's not groaning from winning and all that kind of stuff. This is something different going on down there. But when somebody just says Yahweh, I need context, sorry, because Aaron used Yahweh in the term to frame it as the golden calf. You can just read it in Genesis or in Exodus. So I'm very careful when people start using words and say, well, I believe in God. It's like, well, so do the devils. The devils believe in God as well and tremble. So I think we got to get specific when we're talking about who's who, because Trump will throw out God all the time, but he'll never say Jesus Christ, which is interesting. Not to say that Trump is the Antichrist and the one that took a bullet to the head, because Aaron proved it right here, saying that this is more symbolic. And I like how you presented it.
You know, it's funny because I'm probably going to go do a live right now and explain this and do it more thorough.
Okay.
I was thinking about doing that right now on my channel. I was thinking about going live right now at 9 and talk about that exact subject. So maybe you've inspired me to do that. So
that is awesome. So go check out Aaron and God a Minute. He's going to expand this, and I appreciate what you shared. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Like when you're reading Revelation, you have to kind of read it in that lens.
Yeah. So what I'll do is
what did he say?
What did he say? You go to his channel, Repo Man. You go watch it. He's going there right now.
So yeah, I'm gonna schedule on my channel for 15-20 minutes from now.
Okay.
Half an hour, something like that. I'll schedule it, make a thumbnail,
perfect. And we'll be wrapped up by then too. Like and then I'll send people over there to watch.
Perfect. Yeah, whoever wants to expand on this with me, you can come and listen in. So that's great. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. Good to see you, Mike. I hope you enjoyed your time away from the camera.
I have to get ready for work early in the morning, so I had to go get cleaned up. My wife makes me take a shower every day. Go figure.
Yeah, nice.
I don't get it, but
yeah, no worries. But thank you, Aaron, for being on here. And yeah, like in 50. So what time are we here? 7:30. So it's 7:30 Mountain, so 9:30 Eastern. Aaron's gonna have a special presentation to unpack. What's your
Yeah.
title? What do you
I
gonna
think I'm
call
going to
it?
call it, who are the seven mountains or something like that. Something like that.
I think you should call it Why Trump Got Shot in the Head and Why We Think He's the Antichrist. No? That's
I'll
too
probably get banned. I'll
clickbaity.
probably get banned from YouTube or
It's
something.
too clickbaity. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah, okay. I'll go live on my channel in about
Okay.
20 minutes or something like that.
Okay.
Thanks for having me,
Awesome.
guys. Good to see you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Good to see
Have
you.
a good one.
Bye.
All right. So you're back. You're all showered. See, what we expect our guests is to shower and clean up before they come
I
on our
know.
show. So thank
I
you.
know.
Appreciate
I actually fell asleep, and then I've got Truth Seekers live at 10 o'clock. So I was like, let me run in real quick because Aaron is very studious in his subject. So I knew he'd go on for a minute, and I came back just at the right
it.
time.
Just in time. Yeah. Yeah.
I was
No,
listening
get it.
anyway on my cell phone. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. No, it's all good, man. And he's gonna unpack. I'll probably watch his show after I'm done here.
yeah,
Because my wife is out of town. Not out of town. Yeah, she is out of town. I'm in a small town. She's in a bigger town, but she's at a book club. So I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? Every time my wife leaves the house to go do something with her friends,
just do a live.
I'm going live, baby. So any final thoughts here, and then I'll let you crash.
I just tell everyone, stay encouraged. The rapture is going to happen, and it's the trigger will be pulled when you least expect it, and it's gonna come, and it's gonna come very. The Bible says it. Though it tarry, wait for it will not tarry. When it begins to go down, it's gonna go down really fast. We're gonna be looking up, going, anytime now, anytime now. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's gonna happen really quickly when it finally starts to go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So thank you, Repo
Yeah.
Man. Thank you. Anything you got coming on for the weekend kind of thing, or
I work tomorrow, but then I'm off on a Saturday, so I'll probably come out, and I've been taking screenshots, so I'll come out and go through some screenshots and put a video out for everybody.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks
I'm
again.
in my dry spell until July 17th. So.
Yeah, you're in your dry spell. I got nothing for you, folks. I got nothing for now till the 17th. No, that's cool. Okay. Thank you for being on the show. If you don't mind sticking around in the back, or you can take off whatever you want. Usually what I do is I just say a quick bye, and then I just put my little end video. So if you want to stick
All right.
around, we can
Well,
chit chat.
we'll see you. I'm gonna join. Now
True
I'm gonna
Seeker?
forget. Yes,
True
that
Seeker?
guy. True Seeker. I
Okay.
have the worst memory for names.
So you're going on another live.
I am. Yeah, it starts. Well, actually, it
Sweet.
starts 45 minutes. So yeah,
Okay.
I'll be on there.
Okay. So everybody, you have a choice now. You got to go see Aaron at God a Minute. Everybody's going live tonight. It's crazy, man. There's something stirring, right?
I work
Everybody's
early in the
like
morning. Why did you guys choose today? What the heck?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so go to Truth Seekers right after. That's with Jason K, right?
10 o'clock. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And then go check out his channel. Repo Man will be over there talking about
And Aaron should
timeline
be on at
stuff.
9:30 Eastern time.
And then Aaron's coming on any minute. Any minute he'll be on. So go check out his show. Man, it's a full lineup tonight. I'll just go get the popcorn and watch you guys now.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. See you later. Bye. All right. Lots of good stuff going on. Lots of good stuff. So go to Aaron Got a Minute. He's going to be talking. He's going to be unpacking a little bit more of this. You know what this feels like right now? This feels like, I don't know if you guys ever were into comics, where we used to, when I was a kid, we used to have what was called crossover comics. So where this came out was basically, I think it was called the Crisis Infinite Earth series, where basically all these Earths were getting destroyed with all their superheroes. I think Supergirl was one of them that got destroyed right out of the gate. And what they would do is that you would have a Superman comic, and maybe it would be issued like 597. And then at the end, it would say, if you want to see the rest of the story, you got to go over to Action Comics, another version of Superman, to watch the rest of it. Or you got to go to Green Lantern or whatever. And then you're in Green Lantern reading a comic and it's like, hey, if you want to see this, then you got to go over to the last issue of Supergirl or whatever it is. This is what this reminds me of. Like, we're doing crossovers here. So after this show, go to Aaron at Got a Minute. Go check out his explanation where I feel like he just scratched the surface of unpacking Revelation. And then after that, after about a half an hour or so, you could switch over to Truth Seeker and watch and see what Jason has cooking along with Mike, Repo Man. So thank you guys. Appreciate you guys being on the show and appreciate my guests. That was awesome. And thank you guys for hanging out with me for the last hour. Really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in another video. Bye for now.
Black Swan Revelations here on YouTube brought you today's mind-bending journey. Dive into the discussion, your comments, questions, prayer requests, and powerful testimonies of Jesus' love are what fuel this community. Did today's episode hit home? Smash that like button. New here? Subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss a live stream or a video upload. Thanks for being part of today's adventure. Catch you in the next video, or maybe even in the clouds. Stay curious, stay blessed.